Hey everyone, it's Mary Louise here from East Coast Stamping with Mary Louise. I'd like to show you a card that I'm going to make today. It's not anything new. It's just revamping the old. So I recently acquired the Color and Contour stamp set and was searching on Pinterest for some inspiration and found a beautiful card and had forgotten some elements that we've used in the past, so I'm going back to do those fun techniques. So I'm going to be using the big flower from the stamp set as well as the happy birthday from the Something Fancy. I'm going to be using a piece of designer series paper from the Fresh as a Daisy. I have a hard time remembering what that one is called. I always think it's Delicate Daisies. This is one of the new in colors, the copper clay. So we're going to use this piece. I have a basic white card base and it's 5.5 by 8.5, and just fold it into so like I say, it's nothing fancy. It's just an old technique. I'm going to use my Versamark and stamp some flowers using the Versamark. And I'm just kind of putting them in random places. Oh, you know what I didn't do first? Well, I'll do it where I didn't do it. Forgot to use my embossing buddy. So that is supposed to help you take off the static electricity so that when you heat emboss the stamp, the when you heat emboss, the powder doesn't fly everywhere. Sorry, I can't do two things at once. I'm just trying to look to see. All right, I don't normally do that many without first stopping to powder up. So I'm using just some white embossing powder. I'm just going to use a piece of scrap paper underneath, and I am going to lift you up for just a second so I have enough room for my hands under the camera. And normally when I use my Versamark, I just do an image or a sentiment or whatever and then heat emboss, or at least pour the powder on. I'm always concerned that I might dry out too quickly, because I know it does dry rather quickly. I haven't stamped on designer series paper in a very long time, and I haven't used embossing powder for a long time, so this is kind of like renewing. Oh, I still have some residue, but that's okay. So I'm just going to give it a look here. Give it a flick. Pretty happy with that. Now I'm just going to grab my heat tool. I love the transformation of the heat on the powder, and it goes to a shiny, melted stage. It's hot on the fingers. I don't know if you can see. How crisp and clean that looks. It took me a long time to get comfortable with doing heat embossing. I'd been making cards for a little bit, and my husband bought me a heat tool for Christmas. And he bought me a powder. He didn't realize that there was a difference between glitter and embossing powder. So for a long time I kept trying and trying, and no way could I get what I thought was embossing powder to melt. It wouldn't do anything, and it would just fall off my paper. So I took it to my Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? She goes, well, it's glitter, it's not embossing powder. So there is definitely a difference. One melts and one does not. So I am pretty happy with the way that looks. All right, so I am going to adhere this down to my card base. Isn't that pretty paper there too? It's always so hard to know which side of the DSP to use. I've run out of my Stampin' Seal, so I've had to resort to my tear and tape. Much prefer my Stampin' Seal. This almost reminds me of like paneling from like the 70s. Our TV room had paneling in it. I remember every Christmas we'd have to wipe it down with lemon oil, ready for the holidays. Gosh, I don't even know if we can sell that, if we sell that anymore. That was right up there with having to polish the silverware. We used it once a year for Christmas. That was a lot of work too. All right, so I always like to add a little something to my inside. So I have a little strip of the Designer Series paper left over. Oh, perfect. All right, so now I'm going to use my memento and stamp my happy birthday greeting. Okie dokie. So I'm just using a scrap. It's warm in my room and everything's getting sticky. All right. Again, I didn't grab all my supplies, but I have them nearby. So I'm using my Take Your Pick tool and some mini dimensionals. That one wanted to come with me. There we go. So I also have this really cool In Color Jute twine. So I'm using the copper clay color. Now I raveled out a little bit of it just to make it so it's not quite so bulky, because if I want to mail this card, that I don't want it to be too thick. I like the frayed look. It almost looks like it's a little thicker. No, now I've started something. All right, you know, that old saying, when you shouldn't mess with things. I shouldn't have messed with things. We'll do it again. Maybe. No. I shouldn't have messed with things. That's all right. We can do it again. So it's just a matter of pulling out. I'm used to doing this when I do my cross stitch, so not a big deal. So it certainly gives it a different look than just regular I want to say embroidery floss, but you know, twine, baker's twine. All right, and now it looks like I got a shaggy dog on my table going on here. And let me grab a glue dot. And I'm going to use these classic matte dots because I really want the the little white embellishments. And there we have it. So some basic techniques, just stamping with your Versamark and your embossing powder onto a piece of Designer Series paper, and it's a beautiful card. Bring it down. So thank you for dropping by. If this is your first time visiting, welcome, and be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you get a notification every time I post a new video. And if this is not your first time, then thank you for coming back, and be sure to give me a thumbs up so I know that you've enjoyed the video. Till next time, thanks again from East Coast Stamping with Mary Louise. Bye for now.